Slice motion is a game changer for MPC sampling. Freebeat. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Freebeat. Today's patron shoutout goes to Lorenzo Tano. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. And right out of the gate, I know what you're thinking, that I said game changer in a video about a piece of gear, so I must be exaggerating. Or maybe, just maybe, I actually think that slice motion on the MPC is going to be a huge step forward for making very playable sounds and multi-samples. It's that one. So what is slice motion? Well, it basically allows us to take a sample and then chop that sample up and then assign those slices to be randomly triggered by a pad in a kit. This is already pretty huge by itself because it really means that you could just have a ton of variation of a sound on just one pad or key. You're really only limited by the CPU and the memory. However, when we combine it with the MPC's ability to have 8 different layers per sample, things start to get pretty crazy. As you can see here, the name of this kit is Neil Peart Kit Proper. And that's because I have actually taken a whole bunch of sounds from a Neil Peart instrument library that I bought years ago that I have on the computer, and I made a whole bunch of different samples of those sounds at different velocities. So for instance, here's the snare folder. The number next to these names corresponds to the velocity. So also I was not organized. I've got MP3s and waves, but you'll see snare 15, snare 31, 47, 63, and then it goes all the way up to 127. There are 8 of these files per different sound. And each one of these files has 8 different sounds within. It's literally just one wave of the snare drum being struck 8 times. And due to how that instrument library works, each of those 8 hits are going to be different. So I have 8 of these at different velocities. If we go into sample edit, we can see I've got a lot of different sounds in here. So I've got 8 different sounds for each individual piece of the kit. And within each sound file, like I said, are these 8 sounds that I was able to slice up. So let's go to the snare drum here. There we go. So like on snare 47, so this is a lower dynamic snare, we've got our 8 slices, right? And all I did was just go in and basically use the threshold setting to chop them up super easily. Then we go in and we assign those to a layer of one single pad. So our snare pad is right here. Now, if we look under layer 1, I have snare 15 assigned. Hopefully you can see that. Layer 2, snare 31, snare 47, 63, and so forth, all the way up to 127. For each of these different layers, if you go down to slice, you can see I have it set to 1. And then if we use slice motion, I have it set to random. But that's not all. If we go to the third page of the samples tab, we have the velocity section. This is where we assign the different layers to different velocity levels. So layer 1, snare 15, is set to trigger at 0 velocity and stop triggering at 15 velocity, so very quiet. And as you can see, they just keep going, 16 to 31, 32 to 47, 48 to 63. Hopefully this is making sense. I know I might be leaving some of you behind with this one, but I was just too excited to not make this video. It's kind of complicated, but it works. And if we go to the second set of our layers, now we have layers 5 through 8, you can see snare 79, 95, 111, and 127, all with their corresponding velocities. Really what this means is I have 8 different layers of samples that each trigger at different velocities, right? As we get louder, the sample changes. But each of those individual samples also has 8 different, basically samples within, 8 different slices that can be used to give variation. Now, this took a while to set up. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a pain, and I do need to trim some of the samples and maybe get some cleaner samples off of the VST off the computer. But this is all running standalone on the MPC, and it's kind of a big deal, I think, because as you'll see in a minute here when I go over to my SPD drum pad to actually play these with a real, actual drum interface with some drumsticks, it's pretty wild how good you can get this thing to sound. And yes, it is pretty taxing on the memory. We are not streaming anything off the SD card here. And by the way, this is in MPC 3.0, but we're not streaming anything off the SD card. Let's see what we got going on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different pads. Each of those pads have 8 different samples on them. So that's 80 right there. And then we multiply that by another 8 because there's 8 levels per sample. So, I mean, you're talking 640 sounds right here. That's a lot. That's a lot of material. And if we pull down the drop-down menu, you can see that memory is pretty dang full there. CPU has seemed to do okay so far when I've been testing this out. I'll report back in a future video, I'm sure. And I will be setting this up again in the future, streaming all of this off the SD card, because I'm really interested to see what performance will be like there. But yeah, for the first time ever, I did get a low memory warning on my MPC, just setting up this one kit. And that's all we have on this, by the way. There's only one track on this project, and it's just this kit. So anyway, let's turn it over to me at the SPD-SX. And I will just be using the SPD-SX to control the MPC via MIDI. So all the sounds, all the audio you're hearing is going to be coming out of the MPC. And yeah, I'm just triggering it via MIDI. So check this out. It's pretty cool. All right, so as you can see, I do really think this is a game changer, especially for being able to bring like a VST multi-sample type experience to a standalone device like this. It's really impressive what I was able to pull off, and I did say this took a while. It took about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to set everything up. But with a bit more time and some fine tuning, I think I could dial it in like to, darn near perfect, because there's still things like I could go in and adjust individual levels of the sample layers and things like that. Of course, we could mess with different effects and all sorts of things of that nature. So yeah, ton of potential here, just absolutely mind-blowing stuff. Very excited for the proper launch of MPC 3.0. I'm sure it's just going to get more stable and even better, which, by the way, I had 0 crashes in doing this. If you're interested in an in-depth tutorial of this setup and this process in the future, please let me know. If not, be sure to leave a like on the video if you liked it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Either way, be sure to hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.